On the show, in Wheelspin, we drive the soon-to-be-launched Datsun Go. And in Going in Style, we take a look at the 48 Statesman Vintage Car Rally. And on the road, we drive the Mercedes C-Class Grand Edition to Ranikhet. What I have here with me is the Datsun Go. Some of you might have seen a few pictures of this here and there, but this is the first time that we are going to take a detailed look at this one. The Datsun Go is short, it's compact, and it's fuel efficient. It's positioned as a city car and it's meant to take you from point A to B in relative comfort and in the cheapest possible way. Now it's time for me to get in behind the wheel and see how she really drives. Eager to enter the compact segment of the Indian car market, which accounts for over 70%, Datsun will soon launch the Go to mark its entry into India. The Datsun Go is designed grounds up for the Indian market and is positioned as a city car, which is compact outside but spacious inside, with an engine which is fuel efficient yet powerful enough. Datsun Go is powered by a 1.2-litre petrol engine, in fact the same engine which does duty on the Nissan Micra and the Renault Pulse. But the engine has been remapped and tweaked to suit the requirements of this car, like better fuel efficiency and more low-end torque. In fact, the first feeling you have after you start driving this Go is that the engine is quite peppy and doesn't run out of juice till about 100-kilometer mark. After that, the power sort of tapers off, but nevertheless, it does the 100-kilometer sprint in about 13.3 seconds, which is quite good for a small car like this. While this engine is good enough for in-city running, but on the highway it hops to the 100-kilometer mark pretty quickly, but thereafter it soon runs out of breath and barely manages to go past the 120-kilometer mark. It's true that this is well past the legal speed limits on most highways, but then most cars in this segment will easily reach the 140-kilometer mark, and what the Datsun Go needs is a stronger top end for that occasional highway outing. The engine is nice and peppy, but what it can do with is a bit of insulation under the bonnet, because the moment you gun down the engine, you can hear the decibel levels go up. The Datsun Go rides on 13-inch wheels, and the Datsun engineers have worked hard on the suspension geometry to ensure that the ride is comfortable. And a ground clearance of 170 millimeters ensures that it is capable of going over the bumps and the speed breakers with ease. The moment you walk into this Datsun Go, one thing that becomes apparent is that this car has been built to a cost, which necessarily is not a bad thing, provided they do not cut short on the conveniences as well as the quality. And in this case, I feel that it falls short on both the counts. The quality of plastics inside the cabin is something that can certainly be improved. And in terms of conveniences, the single stock wiper blades to the OVRMs here, which does not have any adjustment. Forget electronic, it does not even have a manual one. So you have to stick your hand out to adjust the mirror. The power switches for the windows. This one on the driver's side has only single switch, which means that you have to lean over to roll down the window on the passenger side. The glove box, well, there is no glove box. There is only a cubby hole without a cover. Don't know where you can keep your valuables, including your car papers. All these things do not add up to make this Datsun Go a really comfortable car and easy to live with. I think this cost cutting in this sense is detrimental to a car which is positioned as a brand builder. Obviously, to save on the cost, what the Go gets for an audio system is a dock, which can stream music from smartphones and even download the data from the mobile and acts as a GPS. But what you don't get is an FM radio or even a CD or an MP3 player. Considering that most audio systems can anyway stream music from the phone, this contraption doesn't really add any great value or serve as a substitute for a radio. But the Go also comes with class-leading features like Follow Me lamps, which can be preset for the timing of switching off. Which means that if you get off the car in the dark, you can use the headlamps to light your way, and then it automatically switches off.
The Wiper 2 comes with an intelligent wiping system, which means that the wiper senses the speed of the vehicle and sets the speed. Little things these may be, but they add tremendously to the ownership experience.
Ergonomically also, this Datsun Go has a rather unusual setup. The gear lever is mounted here on the center console, with which I have no problems. In fact, it makes it quite easy to reach, and the shifting is nice and smooth and precise. But where the problem starts is here. The seat here has a wide strip. I do not know what this is for. Instead of the place, they have made the seat wider. Okay, fine. But then, when you move the seat up and you start shifting the gears, this is what happens. Your elbow starts hitting the seat. And that's not a very nice feeling. Then there is this handbrake lever, which is positioned here. The old school pull and lock type, which I quite like, reminds me of the old cars. But the fact is that when you unlock the lever and you start driving, and if you're a short driver, you pull the seat up front, then it starts fouling against your knee. And if you're a tall driver, your legs would again come here, and then again it would start knocking against the lever. It seems that I am the only right-sized driver to avoid hitting this lever here. The instrumentation too here is very basic. It has a large analog speedometer, which is nice and easy to read. But along with that, it also has a digital meter, which gives you the RPM and information like distance to empty. But the problem with it is that even a young man like me needs glasses to read it, because the lettering is very, very small. The rear seems to have enough space. There is plenty of headroom, and if the driver here isn't too tall and this seat isn't pushed back all the way, then there is adequate knee room. And as for the headroom, it's good enough for the tall boys. And the seat here is nice and firm, but what can definitely do with an improvement is the cushioning here for the backrest. The rear seat comfort and the boot space is what is very, very relevant for any buyer in this compact segment. So I'm going to pop open this boot and see what it's like. But then there is something very strange here. You cannot open the boot from outside. There's a remote button there, and that's the only way to open it. There is no manual override for the remote. Why that should be so, I don't really understand. But once you open the boot, you are delighted to find plenty of space here. In fact, 265 liters of boot space, which is enough for a little compact like this. And if I walk from the rear of the car to the boot, this is what I find to be the USP of this Datsun Go.
Another area where the Go lacks is in terms of safety. It does not offer any airbags or ABS even as an option in any of the variants, and that's surprising for a car which is the latest entry into the segment, as some of the competing and existing cars do so at an added cost.
As an entry-level car and a brand builder for brand Datsun, this Go might not work, because this car is really a very, very basic car which is short on both features as well as the build quality. As a product, the Go just might make it, provided Datsun puts a very aggressive price tag on it. But don't forget, the competition is very, very intense in the segment between 2.5 lakhs to 4 lakhs. So with no clear-cut USPs as a product, the only edge that might make the Datsun Go really go is an aggressive price tag.
You can expect the Datsun Go to go on sale sometimes around the middle of March. And Datsun, as a part of the Renault-Nissan Alliance, will use Nissan's existing sales network to sell the car across India.
Early on a Sunday morning, when most people are still in bed, we decided to step out and spend time with some old beauties. You see, this is not just any regular Sunday, because today is the day when the 48th Statesman Vintage and Classic Car Rally is being held. And if you happen to love old cars, this is the place to see the glorious rides from the days long gone by. The cars started rolling in at the Statesman House, Connaught Place, New Delhi at around 8 a.m. and the owners were eager to participate in this historic rally, which has been taking place every year since 1966.
a Bentley 1939 MX4. Only 199 of these were made, and possibly today 4 or 5 exist in the world. See, this car does not have any rubber mountings. The engines, the drive system is straight put onto the chassis and then the body is put on. But this car doesn't have a vibration, because that's a big challenge as to how you get vibration out of this machine. The gear shift is on the right. You have to adjust the distributor timing manually, advance and retard. You have to adjust the throttle, the choke, and then you have to start the car. This is 1939, but this has a feature where the suspension can be adjusted from the steering wheel. It's a mechanical hydraulic system. Cars are like very naughty boys. You got to take care of them continuously. Cars are my passion, so I've been involved with the movement for the last 25 years.
About 79 cars were flagged off at 9 a.m. and the smiling faces of the participants reflected their love for these beautiful old cars. There were Austins, Buicks, Pontiacs, Bentleys, Lagondas, Rolls-Royces, Austins, and even old Fiats, to name a few. The cars made their way through the streets of Delhi and had to negotiate the traffic in the admiring glances of all the people on the streets who were eager to catch a glimpse of these historic automobiles. As one would expect, some of the cars experienced technical difficulties along the way, but were soon set right by the able mechanics accompanying them and once again made their way back on the roads. The cars reached their first halting point in Greater Faridabad at 11 a.m. where they were displayed in the sprawling lawns. It is here that the general public got the chance to get up close and personal with these classics, and it was more like a family affair and not just a gathering of car aficionados. Takes a toll on most of us. But for cars like these, their value and beauty increases with time, unlike the rest of us. They do, however, need a lot of love, care and dedication to keep them shining like new. And it's in events and rallies like these that the owners can actually take these cars and drive them out on the open roads and enjoy the joys of relaxed motoring. So far, it's been one of the best Sundays I've ever spent in a long time. You see, to be surrounded with beauties like these from years gone by, well, it is really a treat. This particular one, this is a Studebaker Commander 6. It's a 1930 model, only 27 horsepower, but its claim to fame is that it was actually used by Mahatma Gandhi once. Now this huge truck that you see is the oldest vehicle participating in the rally today. This is a John Morris 1914 fire engine which actually runs. This actually is stored at the Charakyapuri Rail Museum and you can actually see it there. Now what's so special about this is that it completes its 100 years here today. This is powered by a 4-cylinder 80 horsepower engine, and if we asked the guy who's driving this car, he said like the average is only about 3 kilometers per liter. Phenomenal, isn't it? But still, it's functional, it runs, and indeed is the actual showstopper for this particular rally.
This has completed 100 years. It is a pre-World War I car. I can say that it has been manufactured in 1914, must be just before the start of the World War. And so it is 2014, it has completed 100 years. And the color scheme is the original color scheme. There has been no change with the original scheme of things with this car. And 99% of the parts are original.
What do you think would be the worth of this particular car?
Priceless.
I've been into this for last 25 years. The first time I took part in the Statesman relay was 1988. And after that I've been doing every year. And at least 10 different cars we have participated in the rally. It is my passion, and even for next 10 years I would like to enter the cars what we have got. We have got about 40 of these vintage cars. Each car takes me at least 1 year to 1.5 years to restore.
After showing off their glory, the cars made their way to the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium for the prize distribution ceremony. 44 awards and trophies were handed out to the winners in different categories based on the age, performance, originality, and condition of the vehicles. It was a day well worth being part of, as the chance to see these cars in such large numbers driving on the open roads is indeed a rarity and definitely an experience to savor.
I tell you, if you live in Delhi, it's such a great boon to have a state like Uttarakhand as your neighbor. The hills of Garhwal and Kumaon are always inviting. And if you're itch for a long weekend, all you got to do is take your car and point it towards the hills of Garhwal or Kumaon. And that's exactly what I have done. I'm off to a place which in English is called the Queen's Meadow. In Hindi, it's called Ranikhet. And that's where I'm off to today.
My driving companion on this trip is this Mercedes C-Class, but this is not the regular C, this is the Grand C Limited Edition. This car was launched by Mercedes in January to mark their 50,000 car rollout in India. And like all special editions, the C Grand 2 has features which are not there on the regular C-Class, like a panoramic sunroof or a brushed aluminum finish here. But it also has all the features and all the comforts and conveniences of the regular C-Class. Is actually born for the highway cruise. It's got adequate power, the handling is superb, and it's got enough space to make you comfortable. And even if you are traveling with your entire family, the boot is big enough to hold all the luggage.
The way to Ranikhet from Delhi is through Hapur, Muradabad, where you take the bypass to skirt around the city and then on to Rampur, Haldwani, after which the hill road starts. And your first stop is the beautiful lake city of Bhimtal. Continue to drive through Bhimtal and you will soon be on the road to Ranikhet, where the river Kosi faithfully follows you for a long way, making it all the more scenic. Ranikhet is at a distance of around 360 kilometers, out of which around 90 kilometers is hill driving, and that adds to the time one takes to reach. Total drive time is around 7 hours from Delhi. So I finally make it to Ranikhet. Ranikhet is a place which will soothe your tired city soul. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and it's beautiful. And from here, it's possible to get a view of the majestic Himalayan ranges. Right behind me, you can see the peaks of Nanda Devi and Trishul. And on a clear day, you get a very nice view of this. Ranikhet is actually a place where you can sit, relax, and unwind. Ranikhet gets its name from a local legend, which states that it was here that Raja Sudhardev won the heart of his queen, Rani Padmini, who subsequently chose the area for her residence, giving it the name Ranikhet. In 1869, the British established the headquarters of the Kumaon regiment here and used the station as a retreat from the heat of the Indian summer. At one time during the British Raj, it was also proposed as the summer headquarters of the Government of India in place of Shimla. There is still a large presence of the regiment here, and a large part of the town is the cantonment area. Ranikhet as a town has a significantly large local population. Add to this a floating population of tourists who descend upon this town during summer months, and consequently you have a thriving marketplace, places where you can go eat, shop and even stay. If you are in Ranikhet, accommodation is not a problem, as the town caters to tourists of all hue and cry, and consequently there are hotels ranging from the budget to luxury. And the bazaar here is what provides most of the action, as this is the point which is the focus of this small town. If you are tired of lazing around and taking in the beautiful sights of Ranikhet, then there is something else you can do. You can go and tee off in style at this almost picture-perfect golf course here. This is really nice and green during the summer months, and if you come here, you will find a very pretty picture of a golf course. So much so that you might even become a golfer yourself.
In addition to this, there are plenty of places in Ranikhet which offer an opportunity for a nice view of the Himalayan ranges or a walk in the company of nature. One such place is the Chaubatia Garden, which is around 12 kilometers from the city center. But before you get into the garden, you must pay your respect to the goddess in the Jhula Devi temple, which is supposed to be over a couple of centuries old and adorned with literally thousands of bells. And here we run into a lady who is the head priest here and who explains the presence of so many bells.
Everybody thinks that if we ask anything from Maya and she fulfills your needs, after fulfilling your needs, you have to give some bell. See, there are thousands or millions bells. These are all old and new, but this bell is 700 years old.
After paying our respect and wondering about the authenticity of the 700-year-old bell, we drive on towards the Chaubatia Garden.
If you are in Ranikhet, one of the places you must visit is the Chaubatia Garden here. The Chaubatia Garden basically is an orchard spread over 250 acres of rolling hillsides, growing apples mainly. So if you love your apples, you know now where to find them. Besides, it offers a splendid view of the Himalayan ranges.
The Chaubatia Garden is where you find nature at her best. Old trees swaying to the gentle wind and apple trees which now look like skeletons with bare branches which will soon be laden with fruits once the summer comes back in the month of May and June. This is a place to be if you love nature.
This is what an ideal evening should be. Beautiful, tranquil, sitting in the lap of nature with a gorgeous view of the valley below. I had a wonderful time to Ranikhet, and I strongly recommend that next time you have some time on your hands and you want a weekend getaway, do drive down to Ranikhet. It's a place which has everything you might need over a long weekend to charm you.